Again, welcome to everyone to our Church Windows Basics webinar. Let's talk about donations, what it is. Okay, as I try to construct these webinars, I'm always thinking, okay, what are users going to be thinking about these as they're attending these webinars? What are they thinking about? How are they seeing it? So um, when I try to kind of sort of think about it from your perspective, but maybe in ways that you're kind of subconsciously thinking about it, maybe not consciously, is, as donations has always been like contributions was, and some of you may have been just had recently converted over, maybe are still new to donations in many ways. Donations is really and continues to be the bridge between our membership module and our accounting. So we have people that are entered in membership. Those members and visitors then give to the church in donations, and then when those donations and items and gifts are posted in our batches and donations, then those are then subsequently transferred over to our accounting modules. So everything in terms of Church Windows is in one way, shape, or form related, and donations certainly is a very important component to the modules or the program that is Church Windows. And we are going to be talking about donations today, not contributions. I like to get that out of the way right away as well. This is all about the Church Windows donations module. Okay. So a couple of things. This is how it's always been in even the older versions, like in contributions and financial, was there were two things that are required in the software in order to be able to record giving. We need givers, people that attend our church, whether they're members or visitors. And then that's, component number one. And the second component, of course, are the accounts to which those people then give. In many cases, they're the giving accounts that show up on the members and visitors giving statements at year's end. Okay. Any records that are entered into our membership module over here are automatically available and are there for us to be able to post giving to in donations. And so let me get rid of my little highlighter there, and let's go into membership and members briefly here. So it opens up our membership module. We see our very first family, the Jones family. So everyone in the Jones household is available for us to be able to post giving to and donations. They are here, okay? But simply, whenever we want to add anyone that's entered into members or visitors is going to be available for us to post giving to and donations, regardless of whether there's a number. I'm going to come back and repeat that again here momentarily. So if I go, okay, I'm going to add my household to the database. So I'm going to click on add. I'm going to say Mr. Joshua Allen. If I could type today. And, 123 Elm Street, Columbus, Ohio. Then we'll leave it at that. We click on save. It pops up and asks me to add individual. I can then just go ahead and type in my name. And that's it. That's all I need in order to be able to record giving. I need a household on the left side, and I need an individual record, an individual in the household to post giving to on the right. Again, household on the left, individual on the right. And literally, I've just gone ahead and entered a name and my basic address information, nothing else, okay? And so if I now click save, it asks me, do I want to add another record? I'm going to say no to that. And then now I've got a record entered into membership that I can then now post giving to in donations. Okay, I know some of you may be thinking, well, what about a number, Josh? Well, no, I don't need a number now in donations in order to record giving for anyone. Okay, so I can go to my record, and right here I can click on number, and it opens up my manage numbers window and allows me to add new right here, all from membership. Nothing says I have to go into donations in order to assign a giver number if your church chooses to, or if your church has and tracks envelope numbers or giver numbers, as we call them in donations. For those of you that are coming over from contributions, that is something that you'll have to get used to. Is that while contributions did require a giver or envelope number to post to any giving to in donations, that is now done away with. And while you can use envelope numbers to post giving or to assign to people, the system, donations in this case, does not require it. Okay, so I can then just simply, here's my name at the top of our Manage Numbers window. This is open directly from donations. And I can click on Add New to the right, and it opens up and it says, number and start date. When do I want the number to be assigned? Now, of course, I don't know what numbers are available. So I would probably need to go over to donations, run my list of available giver numbers that I can assign. And so I can either assign it here in membership, or I can assign it in donations if I want to assign a number at all. Okay. So let's, and visitors are added in the same way, of course, under membership and visitors. We just go into the visitors database and they're there as well. Okay. So let's go back over to donations now. And as I stated earlier, records that are entered into membership are automatically transferred or brought over into donations to post to. So if I now go to Manage Givers now in the center here and open up our Manage Givers, I'm on my Individual Givers tab, and I just start typing Joshua. There I am. So my record is here in donations for me to post giving. Okay. Even without a number here. Notice there's not a number on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side here. Okay, and I'm going to walk through this because it's important that you're aware, or that you can assign numbers, but giving numbers are not required now in donations in order to be able to post giving for. And we're going to show you that here with my record or with another record here in a little bit. So if you have membership and you own it, or membership and you set up members and visitors, those folks are brought over automatically. However, if I clear out that field here, and we notice here, one of the things I want to point out here now is, and notice here are like Tuesday evening Al-Anon with a V after the last name. Those are representative of our visitor records. But as we continue to go down, I'm talking about, let me get my highlighter here. These records here, like Babcock and Bartholomew, notice they have a V after their name. That's telling us that those are records that are brought over from the visitors database. Those are not in members, but visitors. Okay, so everybody, members and visitors, are brought over into donations alike. All right. But notice here, and this is something that we get a fair number of questions through support about, is right here, notice in the center column, we have this column called Donations Giver, and there's a checkbox down there, okay? That is a giver record which is established strictly in donations that is not set up in membership. All right, a lot of times we'll get some questions about that, well, how do I check that box? You don't, okay? It is checked by Church Windows automatically. So here, notice we've got Carolyn Ames or Jack Albin. Those are checked because we've entered those and set those up as what we call donations givers. They're not entered and cluttering up our membership database, so they're entered into donations only. And how we add a donations giver is by simply coming into our Manage Givers screen as we are here, and then right here at the very top, right up here in the top center, we just click on the little plus sign. Notice the floating help message says Add New Giver. And we click the plus sign, and it opens up and it says Add Donations Individual Giver. So it even allows us to assign a number here. Okay. So if I just go ahead and call it, I'll just call it Steve. So we're going to call first name, middle name, Smith, and let's capitalize his first name here. And honestly, again, that's all I need. I don't need to enter an address or any other information. I can literally just leave it as a name if I want. And notice it is also asking me or assuming that I want to print a statement for Steve because I'm recording him and setting him up as a donations giver. Okay, so if I'm not sure, I can uncheck Receive Statement right here before clicking Add. And so let's say we're going to assume that. We don't know if Steve is going to receive a statement. So we're going to uncheck Receive Statement, and I simply click Add Giver. And I'm finished with adding givers. And notice right here it's highlighted Steve in the center, and it is systematically right here put a check mark in that donations giver. So if you know somebody's going to be coming to your church maybe as a one-time visitor and not going to be returning again, you may decide to add them as a donations giver and again keep them out of your membership database. However, an important note to understand about this is at this time, and this may change, we're unsure yet, is that right now if Steve decides to join our church, I cannot suddenly just go transfer him from as a donations giver over to membership and add him to the membership database. Okay, if I want to add him into members, I would have to actually add another membership record, maybe consider transferring the donations or what have you. over to the record that I'm going to be deciding to keep for Steve. Okay. So if there's really ever any doubt, at least at this time, whether somebody's going to be joining your church or not, or going to be returning or becoming a member, we would suggest maybe just adding them to the membership database, adding to the membership, and not have to deal with one donation giver record and another one for a membership record. Just add them to membership so you're not dealing with duplications or possible duplications. Okay, but a donations giver is really handy. So if you've got, maybe there's, businesses that are giving to the church or something, or other organizations that you don't want to really add to the membership, perhaps setting them up as a donations giver is the perfect way to go. Same thing as, is true under families and groups. Since we can now have families and groups giving, notice here's all of our Sunday school classes and things showing up here: first grade, first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth. Right here, there's a plus sign right here at the very top center again, that when we click on that, it says add group. So I can add a group, or a group is really sort of a general term for anything that maybe isn't represented by an individual per se. But you can add a group here, again, a company, another third-party nonprofit, anything you wish here, and enter them and record giving for them, all as a donations giver without setting them up and adding them to your membership database. So a very nice feature that simply adds more flexibility to the Church Windows program, and specifically donations. Again, it helps us avoid perhaps cluttering up membership. So yeah, one of the things that folks always say when they're even when they're getting ready to come over from contributions is, well, don't I have to still keep my envelope numbers? No, you don't. Again, and I'm going to come back and show that here, but if you do, you definitely have the ability to be able to assign envelope numbers, or giver numbers we call them now, in any number of ways. Okay, so if I go back to my individual givers tab here, and let's say I find my name, here's my name, and I simply click here, I can go right over here to giver number, and I can just type in the giver number here if I want. Okay, that's one way to do this. As I said earlier, we do probably need to run a list of numbers that are currently available. So how we do that is we go up to reports and export at the very top up here, and then below that, lists and labels, and then we see the menu pop up, and it says, in this case, we're going to choose the list giver numbers report, and we choose that. Okay, I'm going to drag that out of the way here, get it down here in the center. I have two options: assigned numbers, so I can find out what numbers are currently assigned, but we're more interested in the one labeled unassigned numbers in range. So we're going to maybe make that, how about 1 through 250? And we're going to simply click print. And this brings up a list of numbers that are not currently assigned to anyone as of February 28th of 2014. This is not a live window. I can't just click on the number and assign it to somebody. So I may choose to print out a hard copy of this. It's a one-page report at this point. Just print it out, and then as I use their assigned numbers throughout the course of the year, I can just simply cross them off, or I can just make a mental note of which number I'm wanting to assign, and then just go in and add it to the individual. So let's say we want to give me number 11. So I could go back to Manage Givers here, and I can assign it here. Okay. Or another option, and the one we were seeing from membership, is I could go over there and add it there, is under givers here at the very top left, and right here below that labeled Manage Numbers. So when I click on that here now, one of the very first and most important things about managing numbers is under Manage Numbers is, notice it defaults to the current in terms of the show. So when I come in here, it's always going to display for me the current list of assigned numbers, and again, that's based on the date and time, or the date that's on your CPU or on your computer. So in this case, it would be current as of February 28th of 14. So I can look at the list of past givers if I want. Simply unchecking or checking past and unchecking current, and here notice we've got a list of people with numbers that all have end dates. Basically, their numbers were terminated on their records or ended on their records as of a date prior to, in this case, February 28th to 14 at some point. Okay. Or I can look at a list of future numbers if I've assigned some. In this case, I think probably the list is going to be blank here, right? Because we don't have, because everything is considered current, we don't have anyone that has a number that's starting tomorrow or later, where we've said, okay, the number's starting then, starting tomorrow, it's not today. So we're going to go back to our current tab, and we're going to find my record, and type in Josh, and there I am. I can either choose my family or my individual record. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to do individual for right now. And we're going to click Add New, and we're going to type in number 11, and we're going to say, yes, it's current, or the start date for the number for me is starting as of January 1st of 2014. Okay, we simply click OK, and there's my name and my number starting for the new year, for the current year. Okay. Again, giver number is simply optional. It is not required. Okay, very, very important. Another really important thing with regards to numbers, before we're going to move over and do our enter donations here in a little bit. That'll probably be in the last half hour here. We're going to get over to that, but people or families can give to a number together, essentially. This is really important because in contributions it wasn't that way. The number would be assigned to one person, and then we would tell the system that there were other people that would give to another number within that record, but the number itself was always assigned just to one person. Okay. If we go to Manage Givers here, and let's say we bring up that screen, I kind of want to steer some focus here. So over here, notice here on the left-hand side, under Bill and Susan Albrecht, we do have number 64 is assigned to both of them. Okay. And that is a very important feature because 2 or more people in a household can give to a number together. And what that involves is this feature under the Giver Number tab in the upper right. Let me get rid of my drawing here. Up here in the upper right, labeled Giver Number. So notice here when we click on Bill, he's checked as gives with family. Susan, if we click on her, she's checked as gives with family. We're simply telling the system that number 64 belongs to both Bill and his wife. Okay. This is a step that really allows, the giving can then be posted to either Bill or Susan or to anybody in the household, and we're simply telling the system at that point, by doing this, checking this gives with family, that that everything goes onto one statement, essentially. So there's going to be one statement that's produced for the family, and it doesn't matter, again, who in the family attends and gives. If it gives with family is checked properly, then we can post it to anyone in the family, and it's all going to go onto the one same statement. Technically, I can do that for myself. So if I click on Susan and Bill here, or Bill, either one of them, and click on Go to Family, it then jumps me over to the Families and Groups tab here and shows me Mr. and Mrs. William Albrecht, essentially their household mailing label information or mailing name information and membership. And right over here it shows envelope number 64. Okay. Probably then, yeah, I can do that even for anybody at this point. So let's maybe go over to, let's go back over to membership again, and let's maybe add somebody to my household. So we're going to go to my household, click on the right, click add, and we'll add my daughter, and save, exit add. She's added to my household now, and we'll go back over to donations again, and we'll go to Manage Givers. So now when we click under individual givers and we type in Joshua, here I am with my name and my number, so I choose that. Again, notice mine's not in blue, and the reason being is because I haven't checked gives with family yet, but I want Mia and I to give to the same number together simultaneously. So we start with me because I have the number. I'm instructing the system that this is the number then that will belong to the family. Okay, it's a really important step. So if I click on my name, click under giver number, and I check gives with family, it says this will assign giver number 11 to the family. Absolutely, that's what I want to do. If there was pledging, it would also assign it to the family. I click OK. Now notice that the number next to my name is in blue. I would simply highlight my daughter's name, click over under giver number, click gives with family, and notice number 11 also pops in next to her name too. So again, if she decides to attend one Sunday and I'm not there for one reason or another, and she decides to give, her giving then, even if our counter posts it to her name, it's all going to be bundled together on one giving statement. Okay. And it will show up if I click under Go to Family now. It is showing Mr. Joshua Allen, which was again my household mailing name. And this is the final, and again, probably the second most important step about this feature is if I click on my name, I have to click on the Name tab, and we have to make sure that the box right here at the very top labeled Receive Statement is checked. If that box isn't checked, then the system isn't going to produce a statement for us at year end. Okay? So make sure to check that receive statement. Honestly, it's one of the most common support calls we get now. Hey Josh, I'm trying to run a statement for somebody and it's telling me the statement doesn't exist and I know that there's giving in here or what have you. And 9 times out of 10, we come into this window. It's either under whether they're an individual or a family. We come into this window, check the name tab, and sure enough, the receive statement box is checked. Now, if they're a family, I can't check that under individual givers. Okay. Over here, say under under any of our individuals where they're not, like Jan, Adams, or Lucy, they're not highlighted in blue, essentially telling us that they're marked as gives with family. I can check that receive statement box. The system will steer you in the right direction, okay, if you just follow along, all right? So just be aware, gives with family really, really does help simplify things, especially when people are giving together as family units or as a group. Good. So the next thing we want to discuss here is we've got givers with or without numbers, as the case may be. Doesn't really matter. Again, I didn't assign one to Steve Smith. Okay, so we have people. The next step is to, of course, ensure that we have our giving accounts, the accounts to which people give. And that's right here under this window right here called Manage Accounts, the jars in the center. So if I click on that, it opens up my Manage Givers or my Giving Accounts window, and it opens up my list of giving accounts. Whoops, I'm going to shrink down the window. Let's maybe make that a little bit larger. Pull that over to the center here. Giving accounts, just like our donations givers. Now, these are not our accounting accounts. These will link over to our accounting accounts, but they're not our accounting accounts, the accounts in accounting and the chart of accounts. These are our giving accounts. So here we've got general fund, missions, building, all kinds of accounts to which people give, all the way down to the bottom, including non-cash giving. We definitely strongly recommend still setting up one called non-cash or in-kind giving. Anytime you need to add a giving account, your current list of giving accounts doesn't support what you're accepting the gift for, you have to be able to be willing to come into this window. And again, at the very top, click this little button here labeled the plus sign, and to add the giving account, and it opens up a window called Add Giving Account. And let's see here. What do we have? Let me close with that and let's take a quick peek here and see what we got. So we're going to call this one, well, numbers aren't even required here for giving accounts, to be perfectly honest, just to give you a demonstration of more of how that works. I don't have to add a number here. So let's call this, let's see, how about, and we click Add Giving Account here, and notice right here, I've got my New Missions Uganda giving account, okay? So I can just leave that here without a number, okay? It does affect how my reports are sorted, of course, but if I go, oh gosh, I forgot to add that giving account number, ID number, later at some point I can come right in here, click in that ID field, key in a number, and then, whoops, there already is 110 there, but if I try to click on that, it's going to tell me it's already in use. It is. So here it is. 110 is already in use by another giving account. So I go, okay, silly me. So I'll make that, say, 111 or 112, and then I just click off of that, and I've just assigned my giving account number, or my ID number, to my giving account, my new one. So giving accounts can also be linked over directly to accounting, of course. I can do that here at my giving accounts list by simply clicking my account links tab here in the upper right. So when I click on that, it opens up my account links and allows me to choose my giving, from my asset accounts here and or my income accounts. Probably in this case, based on it being a new mission project, we would probably need to go over and add an account or two over into our accounting module, but I can link it here. Okay. The other option is when I go up to donations in the top left and across here to the top center to transfer to accounting, right there. All right. And then when I click on that, I can simply click under the tab labeled Default Account Links. And here is my list of my en masse interface between my donations and my accounting modules, where I can see everything together. Okay, so we're always going to recommend generally if you've got any giving account that's set up, I mean maybe short of one that you have marked as inactive maybe, that making sure that we double check this default account links tab and make sure that all of our giving accounts are linked to the appropriate debit and credit accounts in accounting. So right here, this Missions Uganda kind of sticks out like a sore thumb here because it doesn't have anything in the debit or credit account field, so it's pretty plain to see there, but we notice all the rest are. So what I'm doing here is setting the account so it's the account that the accounts that that donations will look for automatically when I transfer over to accounting. So I would just click in that field, and just from the drop-down arrow I can type in the name or number. We'll do Huntington Bank Checking. And over here I can probably choose just to, well, if I don't know, I can just start typing missions. And there's my mission fund or contributions to missions. And that's it. I've just linked that. Over if this were a pledge account where I was receiving prepaid monies, I could also then credit or put in or enter a prepaid credit account, liability account. It is optional, but certainly if you're dealing with prepaid pledges, that probably would be an important step. But for the time being, I have at least, so if I have giving for the remainder of this year here, it will credit to my contributions to missions and my Huntington Bank checking account. Giving accounts, just like accounting accounts, we have to be able to trust that we can add them at any time we need them. All right. One of the things about our giving accounts, though, is much like our givers, at least at this point, is they cannot be deleted. All right. So if we go in and we go, oh, there's an account we no longer need, I can't come in here and simply click the delete giving account because if there's giving posted to that. Okay. My Missions Uganda I can because I haven't posted any giving to that. But once giving is posted to a giving account, right now it's in the system there in perpetuity until we decide to write an option maybe into the software that will allow you to purge or delete those accounts. And the same is true for our givers as well. This is all in keeping with trying to maintain as ironclad and good of an audit trail and strong of an audit trail for you as we can possibly. Okay, so we build it into the system to protect you. What you can do until we permit you to delete accounts, if it ever happens, I don't know, is that when you're done with a giving account, you simply come in here and we simply check the box here in the upper right of the detail box labeled inactive. Everybody should see that on my drawing tool here. This will remove your giving accounts from the active transactions list. I can't post to an inactive account at my enter donations window. Okay, so like our accounting accounts, if you have accounts you're no longer using, just simply put in a check mark in the inactive box, and that will remove them from your transactions. So if I go, okay, I'm going to inactivate my let's see, Handbells giving account. If I check that as inactive, when we go over to here to enter donations in just a couple minutes, we will see that Handbells 260 account is not going to show up here to post to. Not that I would want to deactivate my Handbells account, but just to show you how that works. All right. All right. So we have then now once we've entered our giving accounts, And again, these giving accounts can be really, honestly, I'm not even sure what it, if I go, okay, my Uganda, let's see if we can kind of generate a total here. Notice here I can put in some pretty it looks like I can put in 11 characters into the ID field. So you can really create some really broad ranges of combinations of numbers and characters for your giving accounts. So you can add up to, it looks like 11 characters there. So that's a lot more flexible than it's ever been. Okay. What else? Print. Oh yeah, we want to make sure that the giving account is checked to print on statement too, if it is indeed an account that we want to show on the statement. It is by default, and those giving accounts are considered tax deductible unless otherwise, we indicate it as such. And I'm talking about these check boxes here, right here, print on statement and giving is tax deductible unless we come in here and change that. Okay. So now we have the two things that are necessary in order for us to be able to post giving. We have people and givers, and we have giving accounts. All right. Now we can consider, or can go in and record donation batches for this. Before we do that, though, I want to point out again, under our, if you're using Church Windows Accounting, before you enter that first batch, we would strongly recommend going into your transfer to accounting, clicking on your default account links, and making sure that all of your giving accounts are linked to a debit and a credit account, so the system knows where to transfer them to with literally 1, 2, 3 mouse clicks right over into accounting seamlessly for you. Okay. This option for transferring donations to accounting also resides and exists in accounting too. So if we close out of donations and we go over to accounting now, all right here at the very top of the accounting module under our accounting transactions list, we have the option labeled transfer donations. All right. So when we click on that, it opens up the exact same window as the one we were seeing in donations, except it's called transfer donations to accounting, not transfer to accounting. So we've got transfer donations with default account links and our posted transfers. So once you're on both donations and accounting, you can transfer the batches from either donations or accounting. It doesn't matter. You can set up a system, protocol, what have you, deciding who transfers the batches over to accounting. All right, let's go back over to donations again. So now we can go to enter donations. And this opens up our enter donation screen. Maybe make that a little bit bigger, hopefully here. And we can begin entering a donation batch. All right, so let's see, what was last Sunday, the 23rd. So we're going to go ahead and record giving for last Sunday really quickly here, a few things. A few items, and then we're going to go ahead and post the batch and transfer it over, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of other things before we end the session here. So batch codes, there are ways of being able to track giving separately that may share the same date. So like if you've got 2 services or 3 services on Sunday, you can set up batch codes to track and record that money separately and report on it primarily. I mean, it's more about reporting than virtually anything else. How much money did we receive for our early service versus our late? Those batch codes allow us to do that, and those can, of course, be customized. Again, clicking on the plus sign, add batch code. Okay. If you don't use batch codes, you can use the little light switch here at the top above batch code there to skip this field, essentially, by turning off the light switch. It's essentially disabling the field, and it just skips over it when you're entering your batch. Okay. Giver, we do need to, of course, to post to our giver. And again, you can search here. This includes the enhanced search capability, so I can either type in my name, or I can come in and I can choose the number. Now, what gives there? What am I missing? Did I not assign the number properly? I'm sorry, folks, bear with me here. No, it's there. Families and groups. Sorry, I just need to make sure this is here. Received statement is checked. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Let's go back to enter donations again. Righto, because my gives with family record changed is where that's showing up differently. So here I am. Because I changed it, it was changed from me as an individual to the family now as of February 28th. So here's my number, and then I go ahead and enter the amount that I've given. And again, payment method, check or reference number, and donation comments can be skipped. So here, if we choose not to enter a payment method, if your church doesn't do that, record a payment method, then by all means you can disable that. If you do that, however, we would strongly recommend just choosing cash as your payment method. Again, I can disable all of them. All right. So then if I come down here now, then I just choose from my drop-down menu, can type in the name or the number of the giving account. Here, let's say I did request that my gift be split. So we're going to type in $25 to the general fund. Notice it's popping in with the rest of the balance due, ready for me to pop in and choose my other giving there. And I've just divided my gift into two different giving accounts. Done add to batch, and here it begins to populate the batch at the bottom. Let's go ahead and enable some of these fields here. So I'll go up and choose the next giver. And let's say Lucy did give a check. It is going to require that I enter a check number. So if I try to enter now and add my batch, so let's say Lucy did give to the general fund the $100. And if I click add to batch, notice it is flashing my little red dot here telling me, hey, a check number is required when check is chosen as a method of payment. So I would have to grab her check and enter the check number before adding it to the batch. Okay. The batch continues to accumulate and build at the bottom in the order that it was entered. Okay, so if I now continue to add some items to the batch, nope, don't want to add giver. Sorry, folks, I'm getting a little click happy here. Continue there, and as I continue to do that, notice it is adding the items into the batch in the order that they are entered in. Okay, and how I know that, or why I know that, is because we've added it as a feature. But notice over here on the lower right, it says entry number. So it's adding them and creating an actual entry order number where the batch is. I'm able to get back to essentially the original sort order that I had entered the batch. Okay. So if for some reason I go, okay, I want to sort it by total amount. Okay, notice it is changing it. The sort order, if I just go back over to my entry order, let me get rid of my drawing tools here, drawings. If I click on entry number, it will resort it again back to the order that I had entered it in, and it just allows me to pick up where I had left off. Okay. One of the things, and I'm sorry I've neglected to sort of mention this, is if we're talking about donations basics, is virtually everything, folks, in donations is driven by a date or range of dates. Whether we're looking at our giver numbers, we saw how there was a date that was assigned to that when we were entering that, when we entered my donations or my giver number there. Even a date has changed now. That number has changed when it was changed from me. That number was moved from me to my family, 11, even though the people that it was essentially assigned to didn't change. The fact that there was a record of it now where it went from just my individual record over to being assigned to our family for me and my daughter, that there is a record of that having been changed. Everything in donations is driven by date. Everything, whether you're running your statements or a report or anything, there's a date involved. This is what allows us to be able to, this is why there is no end of year procedure in donations, is because it's one continual timeline. Okay, nothing separates one year's giving from the rest, from others, other than when you enter a date. Okay, so once we have our batch entered here, we can print some reports, whether it's the detail or by account here. Notice my tabs here on the right side, detail or account. Okay, I can toggle back and forth between those. Depending on which one of those tabs I'm on will determine what I get when I click print. So I'm talking about the print button right here at the very bottom of my donation batch down here. Okay, I don't draw arrows very well clearly with my mouse, sorry. If I go down on the detail tab and I click print, it asks me, do I want to show the detail or hide the detail? Depending on which option I choose, okay, determines how and what prints on the report. So if I choose show detail, this is a pre-posting report, of course. This is not, I have not posted the batch yet. I can choose, what columns I want to appear, but then when I click print, it opens up the report preview that shows, the giver with the number and the check numbers and how the gifts are actually divided. So in this case, my giving is split with its own subtotals. Okay, if I go back to my report here, or my print, and I choose hide detail, and I click print, it's a far simpler report. It's literally just the giver, numbers if applicable, and the total amount given. The report changes again when I say change it over to my tab labeled account. So notice here I've got giving posted to 3 separate giving accounts. Again, show detail or hide detail. I bring that up. Again, I can change how it's grouped or sorted in the columns that I want to see. Look at all these columns I can include on this report if I want. Okay, by simply moving them from available to visible. And when I click print, the default is what it is. So here now it again shows the total by how much was posted given to my general fund giving account and the givers with the amounts and the flowers and my Missions Uganda, etc. Again, when I click now and I do hide detail, it is literally just going to show me each giving account with their respective with the totals that are given to those. So what do you want to see on the report? Essentially, that's the that's what it boils down to when you're trying to determine which one of those reports. And one of the things that I always tell folks is, play with this. It's really, if you break it, you got to let us know how you did it so we can fix it so you can't break it again. Okay. So there's really no harm in here in doing just what I've done here by going as you're printing or getting ready to post your batches. You go, okay, I want to click on the detail, print, show detail, hide detail. Again, each one of those, the detail ones, of course, the show detail offer the greatest amount of flexibility with regards to your columns in terms of what columns and information you want to see. Okay, the more summarized reports like our hide detail options, notice it doesn't have a columns tab, so it is literally just that. It just brings in the basic amount of information to the report. But play with it. Decide which one works best for you. Okay. If I'm not done with my batch and I'm in the middle of it, I can choose Save Batch. You do have to wait for the window that pops up and says batch was saved successfully. If you do not get that, the batch is not saved. Okay. We would also encourage you to make sure that there's nothing here at that you've started at the top half of the window, here at the top, that isn't added then down to the batch, the actual batch unposted donations batch at the bottom. Okay, a very important step, because there might be something you're not. It's either, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's not going to even save it as part of the batch. So if I go ahead and enter something, let's choose a giver. And we enter an amount. And, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's add that back up. Edit. I just moved on edit. Now if I click on Save Batch, oh, it was saved, but will it, if I close out and come back into it, will it include this giving that I have at the top for Karen? So if I close out, go back into Enter Donations. This is what happens when you save your batch. Comes back in and it shows you a list of unposted batches. It will shows the username if you do have a security logins. We simply highlight the date, click Edit Batch, and here we are right back to where we were. But yes, as I suspected initially, was that gift or batch that we had started for entering for Karen at the top is not added to the batch here at the bottom. So make sure that you have anything added to the batch before clicking on Save and closing out of that. Okay, very important. But yeah, save the batches. As long as you get that batch was saved successfully dialog box, the batch will have been saved properly, and you can come back in and it'll just pick you up right where you left off with your same entry numbers, everything. Again, if you need to edit a gift, you simply highlight it in the batch, either double click on it here or click, highlight it and click Edit in the lower left. So if I just double click on Jack, notice it, oh, it doesn't do that. It used to do that. It doesn't now. Sorry, I thought it did, folks. But you click Edit, it pops it back up to the top. And we go, oh, Jack wasn't giving to flowers. I can edit anything I want about this. And click Done, Add to Batch. If you're just posting and somebody else perhaps is transferring it over to accounting, you would just then click maybe the button at the bottom labeled Post down here. Okay. If you are going to go ahead and post and transfer and you're the person that's going to take care of that, you might choose the next button over labeled Post and Transfer. Okay. What that does is it posts, and we're going to go ahead and do that now. So it says Friday, 2/28/2014 does not fall on the standard posting date. Sunday continues, so that is warning me that I'm trying to post to a non-Sunday date. So I can say, oh, no, I don't want to do that, and I can just edit my batch date if I wish. Or I can go ahead and click Post and Transfer and click Continue, and it will allow me to click Continue and post the batch like I would normally. So it says, do I want to print a report of the transactions? If I say yes, it again opens up my batch report. The main difference between this and my other reports that I printed is this report does include the transactions that are now posted into donations. Right here, this column called transaction number. Okay, the other reports that I were printing were before that I was showing do not have the transaction number because the batch has not been posted. Okay, very, very important distinction. So here's my report. I can print it, and then when I close out of it, it should just automatically open up my transfer to accounting window. Come on. There it is. So my confirmed transfer to accounting. So here now when I click the plus sign, it's showing that I've got all of my accounts. You know, here I can double check that under my transfer. Now I can just simply click Post. It opens up my confirmed donation transaction, and it does allow me to enter comments here if I wish that I want to transfer over with that. And when I'm ready, I can simply click Post, and then it just says transactions, and these are accounting transactions that are created, and I can print those from the Posted Transfers tab. So if I click OK, now I can go to my Posted Transfers. Here's my February 28th date, and I can click under the Print Selected Transfers. Here's my transfer report options. Click on Print or Export, and there's my transaction number that I've created today. Okay. Oh yeah, one of the things I was going to show, and I completely overlooked it, folks, I'm sorry, is to go to when I was back at the Enter Donations window, that when I choose something and enter it, that when I come down to my account/pledge, Handbells is not in the list to post to, hence why, again, showing just demonstration that my inactivating accounts really does work. Okay, so accounts you don't need, since you can't oftentimes delete those, mark them as inactive. It'll still get it out of your way for the most part. I mean, at least out of your transactions for posting that. Okay. Bear with me here. Good. All right, good. With just a few minutes left, you know, there's lots of reports and donations to look at. It really depends on what you want to see on your reports. You know, do we want to look at a giving summary or, you know, giving comparison or a campaign comparison? You know, do we want to look and see what are, you know, what people are giving in terms of like the step report, or maybe our donation transaction reports like our log report or our giving summary? It's very, you know, the reports here really you kind of have to play around with those to determine what it is you want to include. Each reports do different things. Okay, the most important report probably is something like our donation statement. You know, that the donation statement, you know, you can never check those, you know, too early. You can always go in and look at the donation statement for folks anytime you want. Okay, just further demonstration of what I was mentioning earlier about how everything is driven by date. Notice it defaults to 2014. But if I want to look at my list of statements for 2013, I simply change the date range here to 2013. And here are my list of givers. with all of their, with the giving for 2013. This is a really important step. So here's Lucy Agler and her statement for her giving in 2013. The same is true when we're looking at things like, donations and browse, say, when we're wanting to actually look at the transactions. Deal with a lot of these we do right at the change of year. Well, Josh, I want to go back and look at my givers and their giving for 2013. How do I do that? Well, right here, notice it says at the top left of the Browse Donations window, Browse Donations January 1, 14 through December 31st. Okay, so we just simply click under Filter and Sort, and right up here in the top right, we just change our date range back to 2013. I can go back to any period I want and click OK. And here's my giving now in detail for 2013. Everything in donations is driven by a date or a range of dates. Again, under even givers and managed numbers. Let me get rid of my drawings there. Here, everyone that has a current envelope or giver number right here under current has a start date. Doesn't have an end date because until I assign it them to one. Okay. I think right here, yeah, right here, Mr. Joshua Allen. And the reason why that had changed was because, again, my giving had changed, or I had changed my assignment from me as an individual to assigning it to my family. So there's even a record of when that was changed in donations for, when it was changed for me, that number was no longer assigned to me as an individual, but then was assigned to me and my daughter and my family. Okay. Again, the data tells us what's going on. Okay. And we understand, folks, that donations offers so many new features. It takes getting used to. It does, 80-90% of what contributions did, but it does 2-3 times more than things that donations did. Okay. Those are really the basics of donations to really kind of get you started and get the ball rolling with regards to getting the giving entered into the system and subsequently transferred over to accounting. Oh my, there's so much many more features in donations, of course. There's things that we simply don't have time to cover today. We may offer other webinars on those in future, but like our import donations, importing giving from any one of these particular vendors or a general text file. If you've got, if you have e-giving, it's becoming more and more popular these days where, folks are giving through electronic giving companies to the church. Definitely, we've got that as an option. If you're a pledging church, there's definitely more that you can record and set up in the system. Enormous flexibility with regards to pledging in the software now. And so accounts and pledges, managing your accounts, pledges, even we've got subtotals here. Okay. There are lots and lots of options in donations, but that should get you off and running with regards to the basic usage of the donations, basics of the donations using the donations module. So I hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you at another Church Windows User Group webinar. We will continue to offer these. Question came in, what happens if you're not using accounting? That's a great question, Teresa. Simply, you just won't transfer it over. Accounting won't even, if I'm not mistaken, if accounting isn't even enabled, probably you won't even see this, or if you see this transfer to accounting, it'll be gray. Good question. Leslie, is there a separate donations disk, or is it already part of the newest update? It's included in the program, Leslie, provided you own it. If you're still working with contributions, you have to decide when you're going to convert over to the new donations module, but it is built into the version 16 if you have it, or WellSense version 15. There's a page at our website on conversion transition. Let me show that here. Under down the left side here under using church windows, we have this section called conversion transition right here, that when you click on that, it will bring up information about that will assist in preparation of converting to donations. Yeah, take a look at that. There's movies here, there's documentations, there's all kinds of information. Teresa's asking, if you have an end date for an envelope number, can the number then be used for someone else? Absolutely, sure. Definitely not a problem at all. Sure, that's the reason why those end dates are entered is when we go to givers and manage numbers. If I go, okay, as of, today's date or whatever date, I can simply just type in here under Jan. I could say, okay, as of 12/31/2013, she no longer had number 9. I can make it today's date, but then the day after that on there, Teresa, that number can be assigned to somebody else the following day. Good question. Susan's asking if we've already posted for part of this year, will all that be converted when we switch to donations? Yes, you bet, Susan. That all of your giving, whether it's now or you've got 15 years worth of giving, it's all going to be converted over to donations. So you can convert at any time. The conversion can happen now. It can happen next month, next week, 6 months from now, whatever works best for you. So Roberta, when you're saying I have plenty of numbers, how do I not include them on the list? The inactive numbers. You mean the inactive folks who are no longer with the church? Well, probably the way to do, you would want to go in and again end the use of those numbers for the folks who are no longer with the church. So again, you can do that under your manage numbers window here. You just go in and you just say, okay, as of 12/31 or today's date or whenever you're wanting that, just enter an end date and as of the following day, that number will be available to assign to other folks. Yeah, so that isn't important. That's has to become part of your maintenance for your donations module is, who is not going to be returning or giving. I mean, there is an auto-assign feature that allows us to en masse change numbers for folks if we absolutely have to. Usually that occurs right around the end of the year. But anybody that isn't returning to the church, if you're wanting to free those numbers up, you'll definitely want to, again, use this end date to end the numbers or to remove those. Teresa, the question about how long can conversion take, honestly, it depends on the speed of your computer, how large your database is, but on average it probably takes anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes usually. I've seen it take longer, but it's an awfully big database or combined with usually not a very speedy computer when it takes longer than that, but probably somewhere around 10 to 20 minutes I would probably count on average somewhere between there. Margaret, I don't think anything in terms of, Margaret, how you're traditionally used to doing things. I mean, if you've got giving accounts set up in your current contributions for all of those things that you're saying you transfer through, none of that's going to change. More than likely, it sounds like what you're going to be doing is under your manage accounts here, maybe those things that that are reimbursements for things like, at least that's what I'm interpreting to be, copies, postage, books, etc. Maybe you want to uncheck the box labeled giving is tax deductible. Then that'll put that into the section of the giving statement labeled the giving is non-tax deductible. Or maybe you want to uncheck print on statement for those, so those giving for those are not printed on their end of your statement. I'm not sure how that works, but it's a lot more flexible. That might require a support call to us, but in this case you can uncheck print on statement, uncheck giving is tax deductible. You can uncheck both. Nothing says it has to print on the statement, nor does it have to go into necessarily is the giving tax deductible. The difference is giving is tax deductible or non-tax deductible is irrelevant if print on statement is not checked. If it's not checked to print on statement, whether it's giving is deductible or non-tax deductible, it's not going to show. So if you have more questions about that, give us a holler. Suzanne, how do we get a list of all givers in a batch, their name and address and amount in a batch? Well, we'll see. Probably under your reports, log report, you would just enter the specific batch date. I think we've got one in here for January 12th. Here under your columns, you've got all of these columns that are available to include. But name and address is not included there, so that probably wouldn't work. I don't see name and address here, or address. But generally this can be just exported quickly and easily. I know something does include name and address. Suzanne, that would probably be one that you'd want to call us about. And maybe compare and analyze under pledge giving analysis, columns. Yeah, right here, address. But the problem is this doesn't detail the giving. I mean, you can't enter a specific date range, which is the total given, one particular date of a batch. But so it'd probably be your pledge giving analysis. Okay, well, Margaret, that's fine. Go ahead and enter it, continue to enter it. Just don't transfer it over to donation or over to accounting. When you get to the point where you go, enter your donations under your enter donations window, just down here at the very bottom, you're just going to go down to the bottom and click on post. Okay, you won't click post and transfer. You might need to go over to your transfer to accounting window and maybe put a check mark here in these boxes labeled come on right here, under your transfer to donations window, any batches that are not currently transferred, you can just check this do not transfer box, and that'll just take them out and say you're not saying I don't want to transfer the batch over to accounting at that point. So yeah, there's again lots of flexibility here to allow us to. Nothing says you have to transfer the giving over to accounting. Yeah, there's lots of flexibility here. Yeah, folks, anything that's involving your specific, setup or structure, again, is probably going to warrant a quick support call to us.